So I have had a lot of women open up to me about trauma on various scales that they've experienced. And a lot of times it's them, like they're exploring this stuff in order to find a way to regain that power, regain that agency. And because basically they've had consent taken away from them, they've had the
Mm.
ability to say no and have that respected taken away from them. And so BDSM can basically become a playground for them to experience what it's like to say no, to have that power and basically gain that back. And for them, what happens on the other side of that is like, oh, this same action or something very similar can be actually highly pleasurable. And the difference is like, I opted into this. I said yes. I said I want this. Or like we took it at my speed. I was able to warm up to it
Mm.
and be able to ease into actually having this happen.
Dude, so often it's the speed thing. Hey, so like maybe for full context, the entire reason that I wanted to talk about this topic with you today, I sent you a screenshot of a woman that I'm talking to right now, that I'm seeing right now. And she had basically opened up to me and said, like, I've had some BDSM experiences before. One of them was great, but it was very like light BDSM. And then the second guy that I saw, I thought I was into it, but I only saw him 3 times because, she told me that after the third time, she was sitting in her car before she drove home. And she was literally just sitting there almost like shell shocked. And she's like,
Mm.
what the hell just happened? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I don't know what just happened. It was so intense and there was so much, and I don't know if it was good for me. And is it abuse? Is it not? Like, she was confused more than
Yeah.
anything. And he was, I don't know the guy and I don't know the full experience, only the bits that she's told me. But from what she said, she's like, I felt like I wasn't a person in his eyes. I was an object. And I'm not sure
Yeah.
that he liked me or liked women, and she wasn't sure how she felt about it. And she felt like she didn't really know how to say no. And I find that's pretty common with women. It's like they want to say no, and they can say no when it's like a hardcore fucking deal breaker. Like it's an absolute hardcore no. But sometimes we're not quite sure. Like we're in the middle of something and we're like, I kind of like it, but I kind of don't. And I've had conversations with her where I basically said, look, I'll be honest with you. Consent is messier than most people make it out to be. Most people are like, consent is either yes or no and nothing in between. And it's like, sometimes you're not quite sure if you're consenting to something. And that's why I love what you said. I'd like to hear more about this. Like, how do you go slower? How do you let her take it at her pace? In other words, how do you ask her what her pace is?
Yeah. Well, every time that like I am warming a girl up to BDSM, like we always start very mild, if you will. We're not doing like anything extreme right off the bat. Um, and there's always the talk about like the submissive has to trust the dom, and like yes, of course, the submissive is doing something like very vulnerable, but there's also the dom like having to trust the submissive that she'll be able to say no, that she'll be able to take care of herself, that I'll be able to read her and understand what's going on. If it's a new person, that's an entirely new way of like communicating with
Yeah.
somebody. Yes, there's similarities, but everybody's going to react differently. And so we're going to start off pretty mild, a blindfold, spanking, something, pretty simple. And if you're able to take that well, if you are able to speak up for yourself, if, we are having a good time with this, okay, then maybe we'll start diving into some of the deeper stuff. I always want to leave them wanting more than that other
Mm-hmm.
example that you just mentioned, where like, holy shit, that was just too extreme. I don't even know if I liked it. I don't even know what happened. It's better. It's like a integration process. Like they experience a little bit and they're like, okay, let's kind of talk about this. How did you like it? Do you want it harder, faster? Do you want it in a different way? Do you want to be called something else while we do this? Like, how do you want to frame this experience? Because we've talked about this like in the last podcast. Something as simple as spanking, you can do it in so many different ways, and it can feel
Yeah.
so different to other people. So before you even go into the extreme stuff, like just kind of explore the realm of something simple and how that can be intensified for a person. Go through the levels of something simple first before you get to the extreme stuff.
Yeah, I like that you said integration, hey, because it's almost like Like, this is how I like to do it. The first time you do some stuff, whatever she's comfortable with, we do that and we figure it out together. And then I kind of want her to go away for a couple of days and think about what just happened and see how she feels about it. Maybe talk to some friends if she's comfortable with that. Some people aren't, but like integrate that into herself and almost feel like everything we did was great. It was okay. Maybe there was some things I didn't like. What do I want to do next time? And then come back to me with like, here are the things I liked. Holy shit, can we please do more of that? Here are the things that like maybe I disliked, or maybe I just like, I don't know, they were okay. Maybe can we try those in a different way and then figure that out together? But if we're just going from 0 to 100 all at once, it's almost like she hasn't had enough time to think, because like everyone listening, you probably already know this. In the middle of sex, you're not thinking. Like a lot of the time, you're not thinking. You're doing. And I like being able to have that almost more like sober, that's probably the right word for it, sober frame of mind, where you go away, think about it, talk to your friends, and then come back and say what you want and don't want.
Yeah. I think also when you're trying all this stuff out, like you get excited by it, and you, especially for somebody that's new into this, you don't know what your boundaries are with these things yet. Like you don't know what your limits are. Because like, I've never done it. How am I supposed to know? And so if you're doing a ton up front in like that first experience, you're going to run over a ton of boundaries and limits that you didn't even know existed. And you don't have enough time to be like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't actually like that one thing, but we're already like 15 other things in now. So we can't go backwards. Where if you're like taking it slow, you're like, it's kind of like, so like say this is your boundary line, you're kind of like slowly creeping up to it. And you get more.
And like, you can point at it as you get closer, you can be like, wait, I think we're getting close to a boundary. Would it be a boundary if we went harder? And then you go, do you want to stop and think about it? Like,
yeah, exactly. Where if you're like doing a ton of stuff, you just run right over that. Sometimes you don't even recognize it, you know?
Yeah. Or you do something. I've had this a few times. You do something and in the moment it feels great. And afterwards it feels great. You cuddle, you do the aftercare, you're snuggling. You're like, wow, that was amazing. And then you go away and you think about it and you're like, should I have done that? Yeah. Like here's a random example. Something like I'm into water sports, which for anyone else is like pee play. You know, you pee on her, she pees on you, blah, blah, blah. I've had that with a few women where we do that. And I will say to them afterwards, you know, we gently do it. And then afterwards I'll say, how was that? And they're like, that was so hot. Like, why was that so hot to me? And it's like, well, because it's naughty and it's taboo. And like, we'll talk about it. And then they'll go away and they'll come back to me and they'll be like, is it okay that we did that? And I'll be like, well, like, why wouldn't it be okay? Did you consent? Yes. Did I? Yes. Did we have fun? Yes. And they're like, yeah, but like, I told a friend about it and she was like, ew, that's disgusting. And like, should we have done that? And then we can talk about it. But if you're just powering through and doing everything, you don't get those opportunities to go away, talk about it to your friends, come back. Like there are sometimes triggers for shame and guilt with some sexual activities. Yeah, no shit. Especially when we're talking about BDSM. I've been with quite a few women who identify as like feminist. We'll do some kink. They go away. They talk to their feminist friends. They come back and they're like, holy shit, I let a man abuse me. And then we talk about it. It's like, well, you know, was it abuse? If you feel like it was, we won't do it again. Like, I'm here. I'll listen, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like sometimes you have those outside shameful or guilty voices in your life that might trigger some shit for you. So that's why that's another reason I like to go a bit slower and give you both some chances to talk about that.
I think this is also like it's like extended aftercare. Like, yes, you can check in like after, like, you know, when you're cuddling and stuff, but like you also got to check in like a week later, because that's the amount of time that you're like sitting there thinking about it, like, well, I did this thing. What does it mean about me? Especially if they've gone and showed it with somebody else. Those people are going to have opinions and judgments and whatever. And they're going to say, well, you did this thing that makes that man bad, or that makes you bad, or whatever.
That makes you a slut. Yeah.
Exactly. And so they're like, okay, what does this mean for me? Do I like this? Am I okay dealing with this new self-image that I have? What if I want actually something more? What if what I did wasn't all fully what I want now, and now I want something more? What does that mean about me? So I think it's important, like, the next time that they come over, hey, let's talk a little bit about, you know, what happened last time. How are you feeling around it?
Yeah. And did I do something? Like, is it okay what I did? I'll read something out, a couple of quotes from, you know, the woman that I'm seeing right now. And she said, I think a really big goal for me with BDSM is to eventually get to a place where I feel so secure in knowing, and then another step in believing, that I'm not doing anything morally wrong, that I'm communicating effectively, being safe and consensual, and there's nothing wrong with feeling or taking pleasure from any of it. And I think this is kind of what I'm referring to when I say guilt and shame, man. Like, I know you've had this too. so many people hear those like judgmental outsider voices, and that's okay. Like your friends care about you. That's why they're saying that shit, because they
Absolutely.
fucking love you.
Yeah.
And sex, just as a general topic, isn't always talked about, let alone if we're going to start talking about BDSM and kink and power dynamics. Like, is it okay that this person was in a place of power? And yes, like you and I take that power as lovingly and responsibly as we can. But that isn't necessarily what friends are going to hear. If they hear like
Right.
you went to some guy and he tied you up and spanked you, they're like, holy shit, that's abusive. Like, did he hurt you? Like any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, this stuff I like to go very slow, and I know you do too. And sometimes you go a little faster if the person's had experience and all of that, but particularly
Right.
with a new partner, I like to go, I call it almost like agonizingly slow, where they are the entire time saying, can we please go faster? Like, please do more. And then I'll give them a little bit more and then say, how does that feel? Do you want a little bit more? And they're like, please, for God's sakes, will you just go 0 to 100? Like, so this woman that I'm seeing now, the other night, you know, we still had our clothes on, and I'll talk about that in a second. That was one of her things that she wanted to do. She's never in her life, she said, made out with someone and not immediately gone to sex. And so she asked, or I offered, one of us said, what if you leave your clothes on? I leave my clothes on. The first time we just make out, we'll fool around. I can touch you over your clothes. You can touch me over the clothes. And then you might start feeling a bit more safe in your boundaries and ability to say no. So I spanked her over her butt, and I just gave her the gentlest little, like tiny little, like nothing, like the most gentle thing. And then she was like, please go harder. And I was like, okay, do you want soft or medium or like hard? And she was like, please give me a medium. And I was like, okay, but you have to understand, my medium right now is not going to be my medium in the future. Like the medium right now is going to be a version of soft. And she was like, no, give me like really hard. And I was like, I'm definitely not giving you that, but I'll give you a medium. And I gave her like a little medium. And you'll have that sometimes where people are like, no, please go crazy on me. Please go as hard as you can. But even then, I've just had experiences like early on with this shit where someone will go, give me everything. And you do it. And they're like, ow. And then you're like, you said everything. Like I've just, even if they want 100%, I'm going to say to them, you're getting 50%. And then we can work up to 100.
Yeah, and that definitely comes with experience. So I remember a girl that I had met up with, and she wanted me to be really rough. She's like, never, a guy's never been really rough with me. Like, I want you to be really rough. And I didn't really do my due diligence of like what that meant for her, what things were going to be like afterwards. And so I went into it, and I was really rough with her, and we got done, and she's like, oh my God, that was amazing. She's like, nobody's ever been that rough with me. Like, this was so good. And then she wanted to get up and leave, like almost no aftercare, no cuddles. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I need aftercare too.
Bro,
Like,
I need the fucking cuddle. I need the aftercare. Yeah, dude, I've said that too. I've been like, but I need some fucking cuddles because I just went crazy on you. Can I have some fucking cuddles? Yeah.
Right. Like, for me, it's a reminder of like, hey, you don't actually think me as a monster. Like, I let a monster out, 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
But I want us to come back to humanity, like see each other. And that experience has like bugged me before, because I'm like, okay, I don't know how she handled that afterwards. I don't know how that landed for her. I don't know what experiences that's going to be like for her going forward. There wasn't enough integration. So a lot of times now I try and take things a lot slower. Like, hey, yes, we can do these things, especially something that I think may be more edgy for them, as something they haven't done, or something that could be make them have a negative self-view or something like that. Degradation, or like one of those things. If they want to explore that, hey, there needs to be steps afterwards, after we do this, so that we can talk, so that you can integrate it. And it becomes a positive part of your life and a positive part of your sexuality, rather than something that you look on as a negative experience in the future.
Yeah. I want to go back a couple of steps when you were talking about boundaries. I freaking love the way you said it. You were like, you don't know what your boundaries are sometimes until you do it. So the woman that I'm seeing right now, I'm going to keep using her as an example because she's freaking amazing with this stuff. She specifically said to me, like on the second time we were hanging out, like, so we hadn't had sex, we hadn't made out, we hadn't really done anything. And she was like, I really want to explore all of this, and I would, like you to help me, but I don't know what my boundaries are. And that scares me. Like, how do I know? She literally asked me the question, how do I know what my boundaries were? And that's when we had this conversation about boundaries and consent are like an ongoing conversation. Like, you're not going to know what you like until you try it. before you've ever eaten like any ice cream ever, how will you know if you like chocolate or vanilla? Like you don't know what they taste like. You have to sample them. And so that kind of scared her a little bit. And we had a conversation about that. And I was like, look, we're going to go ridiculously slow. You can set the pace. We'll keep our clothes on the first time. And we've already talked about it. And the second time, she wants to keep her panties on and not have sex and just, we'll do other things and take her clothes off and we can fool around and cuddle and it'll be beautiful, but no sex. And I'm like, hell yeah, beautiful. And then the third time, we'll see how she feels and we'll talk about it. Like, do you want to have sex? Do you want to spank? Like, what do you want? But just in each moment, what I find really helpful with someone that's like that, that's like scared of their own boundaries, or they don't even know if they have boundaries. In each moment, I will just go so unbelievably, tantalizingly, agonizingly slow and try something and then stop. I'm a big fan of like full on stopping. Like you do something, you spank for 5 minutes and then you fucking completely stop, not touching each other, not kissing, you cuddle, but you just lay there and you're like, how was that? Like we've paused. We're now no longer in sex mode. We're not in BDSM mode. There's no kink going on. How did that feel? Yeah, I really liked that. I think this bit here, I'd like it a bit slower, or I'd like this, and then my other favorite question is saying, what do you want? What would you like next? What would you like to try? And sometimes you get that very adorable answer from very submissive people where they're like, whatever you want. And I'm like,
do whatever you
want. No, you don't want me to do that. And I had a conversation with a girl. I had a conversation with another girl like 3 weeks ago or a month ago. And I was like, what do you want to do? And she's like, you can do whatever you want to me. And I was like, okay, but like, what are your boundaries? And she was like, none. And I was like, okay, do you want me to kill you? And she was like, well, no. And I was like, so that's a boundary. Do you want me to fucking, I don't know, punch you in the face? And she's like, no. And I was like, that's a boundary. Like you have boundaries and we start from the most extreme. Like no one is ever going to say, yes, kill me. So you start from the most extreme and then work your way back. And then we came up with, I think we had like 5 boundaries that she had that were really hard boundaries. And I was like, see, so you do have boundaries. You just didn't know that they were boundaries. And so even though you say to me, go 110% on me, just go 0 to 100 and go crazy. It's like, no, for me, I'm not doing that. I know you right now don't think you care, but like you're not the one that's been through trauma. Like you're the, in this woman's case, the one who said, do anything to me. I asked her about her relationship history and she's like, it's been great. Sunshine and rainbows, like nothing bad has ever happened. It's like, but when it does, then you realize the boundary.
Yeah.
That's a good way of phrasing it. Yeah. And she's young. She's like 20. So fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost like I'm going to trust myself to have the boundaries, even if you can't do it.
Right. One of the things I like doing is kind of playing a game of asking them like, hey, do you want to practice your no? And I was like, we can basically go up levels. And I was like, I'm going to push it all the way to that boundary. And then immediately, like when you feel that boundary coming and it's a no, like tell me no. And we're just going to stop for whatever that thing is. And so we'll go all the way up to that. And then I'll get a no. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to chill. And
lots of praise when she does that. You're like, good girl for saying no. Good job for saying no. Yeah.
Yeah. And usually the response that happens there was like, that was so hot that you just stopped. Like, you actually just stopped. You didn't keep going. Like, I've had girls been like, that was so hot.
Dude. Yeah. So one of my friends, Taylor, he does a lot of videos with me. He's been doing this with his partner. They've been together for like 2 years. And they're literally learning each other's, like practicing boundaries. They've literally been role playing. I want you to say no to me. I'm going to give you a signal and like a wink or something. And that means you have to say no to the next question that I ask you. I did this with my previous partner, my ex, Imi. She really struggled to have boundaries outside the bedroom and in. And so we would practice at the start. I literally said to her, I'm going to offer you a glass of water. And I want you to say no when I offer it to you. And that's what we started with. Would you like water? And she would say, no, thank you. And even that was hard for her. No, thank you. And I'd be like, beautiful, good job. And we just role played that every day. Like literally we practiced saying no every day for like a couple of months. And then she got fucking good at it. She was really good with her boundaries in the end.
Yeah, a lot of people
I'm a big fan of the role play.
Don't have practice of that. Like you just said, you're practicing it every day. I also like to get them connected with what the sensation feels like for them. Like, what does a no actually feel like? Because usually when somebody offers you something and it's a no for you, you kind of have this like cringe closing feeling. Like it just feels, and it feels uncomfortable. And you're like, yeah, I don't actually want that. Like if that's That's it. If that's what you're feeling, then say no to that. And some things are like, it's not black and white, as you were saying earlier. Sometimes you're like on the fence about stuff. So with those things, if you're like on the fence and there's this curiosity, like there's something that's pulling you towards that, okay, then you can kind of lean into that. You don't need to go fast. Just like kind of explore it like a cat or excuse me, like a kid or, you know, like a cat just kind of moseys around and like, oh, what's around this corner? Same type of thing. Like, oh, let's kind of get explorative about this action. Where on the other side, if it feels like you're kind of being repulsed, you want to pull it away, that's a clear no. Even if you're kind of like, that's a clear no if you're, you know, pulling away from that thing.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that like I don't even think it's a woman thing, man. I think it's just a human
No.
thing. That like a
Yeah.
lot of people really struggle to say no, and they struggle to even identify that feeling. It's almost like, what is this weird feeling inside me? But I'm so used to just ignoring it and shutting the fuck up and being a good little boy or a good little girl and just doing it anyway. And that's really common. I've met a lot of women like that. Like the girl that I'm seeing right now, the woman that I'm seeing right now has said that in her relationship history. She would often just ignore that feeling and push it to the side and say, shut the fuck up and just do it anyway. And that's painful. Like you can build up a lot of trauma around that, and then you almost don't know how to say no.
Yeah. And resentment. You build up a lot of resentment for
Yeah.
people asking you things. I think part of it for both sides really is the experiences that you build up when you've said no to people in the past. You know, the immediate example that comes to my head is going out and doing cold approach, talking to girls. There's some girls that don't want that happening. Like they don't want to be talked to because in the past, they've told this guy basically no in some form or fashion, and the dude freaked out or whatever.
Mhm.
Same thing happens in sex. Like them saying, no, I don't want to have sex with you. That dude may blow up for whatever reason. And a lot of times it's because that guy hasn't been able to express his needs, hasn't been able to ask clearly what he wants in a way that the other person also wants it. And so he's built up a lot of resentment. So he freaks out. And this girl's like, okay, well, now if I say no to people, that's the experience I'm going to have. So in the future, when they try and say no to somebody, like, is that the experience I'm going to have again? I don't want to say no, but I also don't want to do that thing. So what do I do?
Yeah. And this is the main reason why people ghost in dating, like why they'll just stop replying to you. It's because they would send a message and say, hey, sorry, I don't want to keep talking. And the guy or the girl would freak out and be like, fuck you, bitch, like piece of shit. Like, why won't you date someone like me? You fuck. And then she's like, okay, well, I'm just going to not reply. And that's safer. Like ghosting doesn't just come out of a vacuum. Ghosting wasn't invented first. It came from the negative responses. Same thing in sex, man. Yeah. Like, you're going to give me blue balls, or come on, just do it, or you push through the resistance and all of that kind of shit. And just maybe if I get her horny enough, then she'll have sex with me. And it's like, yeah, and you'll build up trauma with her and yourself.
Yeah. Because you never really know, like, did that person actually want to do it out of complete desire or love in their heart or whatever? A lot of times it, like anytime you even subtly manipulate somebody to meet your needs, it's like, oh, maybe they did that out of obligation. Maybe they did that because I was super persuasive and I made my image something that I'm actually not. It makes it always second guess and question whether the things that you're receiving were actually done for you out of love. And then you don't even get the same feeling that you were searching for in the beginning.
I've said this so many times on this YouTube channel, man. I'm like, look, one of the biggest benefits of being honest in dating and sex and friendships and everything really is like, even just for a purely selfish point of view, the sex will be a billion times better if you're honest from the beginning. Like literally you will just have better sex. Like you don't even have to be honest because it's ethical or it's great or it means you're a good person. Just do it because you'll fuck her better and she'll fuck you better. Like literally just for that reason, because she'll open up to you. She'll feel safe. She'll go like, okay, I trust that this guy will stop. Like you said before, I kind of want to talk more about this. In that moment when you stop, yeah, women have told me the same thing, dude. They're like, wow, like you actually stopped. And I'm like, what do you mean? As opposed to fucking raping you? Of course I stopped. And they're like, yeah, but like that's not my past experience. And then I'm like, holy shit, like what were your past experiences? Well, he just kept fingering me. And I tried to push his hand away and then he just kept going. And it's like, that's sexual assault. And I know that's like a binary label and all of that. And we can discuss labels and blah, blah, blah. But like, how did that make you feel? And she's like, well, it felt good because it was fucking fingering me. But at the same time, I wish we could have gone slower. And I don't know what to label it. And I don't know how I feel about it. And I still kept seeing him and I liked him. And just, that felt icky and weird. And I didn't know how to speak up and blah, blah, blah. I think you do something quite special for people when you, and it's not that special, but like it feels special when you stop and go like, cool. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? You don't want to make out? Like, do you want to just hang out? Do you want to leave? Do you want to go for a walk? Like, what do you want? And I would like to provide that for you. And here's what I want. And we can meet in the middle or figure out what we want. But we both have to consent to this thing that I want or that you want.
And speak up basically for both your needs. A lot of times, like, stuff is just happening. And if there's no breathing room to speak up for like, hey, this is actually what I want. It can even be like super small of like, a lot of times when you're having sex, you sometimes go along with the flow and you don't change it to make it better for you or the other person. When like even just a small ask, like, hey, can we do this thing or try this position or just like move this way and it'll feel better for both of us. Just asking for that. I think it gets you in the habit of then stopping when things are being uncomfortable or you're not quite sure. You're like, oh, well, if we've asked for these things in the past, I can ask to stop here or change this. And I find that when you don't do those little things, then you just kind of, I don't know, like let things like happen to you.
You're like hoping it'll be good, right? Yeah. Yeah, and you can do all of that in a sexy way too, which is, I like to do it like that. Like sometimes a lot of the time I will literally stop, particularly with a new partner. I'll stop and be like, how did that feel? Do you want something else? But if it's a partner that we know each other a little bit, or it's starting to flow, or she has some experience already, or she's just not nervous, and we're already in that sort of like stage of this is going pretty well, she's enjoying it, I'm enjoying it, I will make it in a sexy thing. Like I will literally, if in the middle of like fingering her or having sex or whatever, I will whisper in her ear in a very sort of like, I guess, sexy way. I'll be like, tell me what you fucking want. Like beg for what you want. Like tell me what you want me to do next. And then they're like, oh, please, like, fuck me. Or can I get on top? Or like people will tell you most of the time. And so you can make it a sex thing. It doesn't have to be like you stop, get a clipboard out and be like, hey, like, let's, like, how are you feeling? Like,
get all,
can be like
psychological. Yeah.
I mean, you can do it like that. Sometimes I do, like with a new partner, but yeah, it can be a sex thing. Like beg for what you want. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want me to do to you. And then please do this to me. And you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. So yeah, communication and sex can be a sexy fucking thing. Like, of course.
Yeah. I also think that, it's usually like the meaning that you're placing upon this sexual act. So a lot of times the reason it's so fuzzy is because you're not sure what it means for you, or like how much you want this thing. Because there'll be times like a girl's super into the guy, like wants to have sex with him, but then there's also these other things that they're uncomfortable with. It may be things of like, am I going to be a slut if I do these things? Or it may be just certain shame or guilt around certain acts, and they're not quite ready to do that, but they want to do other things. And in trauma, like the main difference between like something being an act that's fulfilling and an act that's traumatic is the meaning that you place upon that.
The context.
Correct. Yep. Correct. And BDSM, the reason that it can be so fulfilling is because one, you're getting consent for everything that's happening. And then two, you're like, okay, these acts that may be even extreme, may be degrading, maybe objectifying, maybe abusive in other contexts, is happening between two people that love and care for each other, or more people, how many more people are joining in, and everybody wants to do it. So the meaning is, this is a fun act and we love each other, and when we get done with this, like, we've created something beautiful, compared to those acts over here where either you haven't spoken up or this actually is like to harm you. There are every once in a while malevolent people that want to do something like this out of harm.
It's almost like you're wrapping it up in this bubble of context of like, and the bubble is, let's envelop the sexual acts that we're going to do today with compassion or love or
Hmm.
just positivity. Like, I just want you to have a good time. It doesn't even have to be this big loving thing, although I try and always have that energy in the bedroom. It's just, I want you to have a good time and I want to have a good time. I want you to feel good. I just want you to walk away going like, that was fun. Like, if
Hmm.
nothing else, if you walk away going, that was fun, that was hot, cool, I can't wait to do it again, I've succeeded. And I want more than that, but like that is the bare minimum. So you're just wrapping it up in this nice little contextual bubble or this, what did you call it? What was the word you used? Like
I'm not
instead of
sure.
context, meaning.
Meaning, yes.
I, yeah, I want the meaning of this to be something positive. And there's a million different expressions of positivity. Like we said, it could be, I want you to feel loved. I want you to feel safe. That is sometimes like,
Yeah.
so the girl that I'm seeing right now, I've told her this a million times. I've said, I want you, when you're with me, to just feel nice. Nice is the meaning. Nice is the context. I just want to be so nice to you. And I said, when you told me about the trauma from the last guy that you did BDSM with, when you told me about some of your relationship history and all of that, when you told me how scared you are, when you've opened up and been vulnerable, all I think about is that I want to be so goddamn nice to this woman. And like,
Hmm.
that is the meaning. I'm literally in every moment just going, how can I be nice to her right now? Let me be nice. What would be nice? What would be nice? For some people, maybe it's adventure. You know, maybe they've lived a very plain sexual life and they're ready to go on some BDSM adventures. And so then the word in my
Yeah.
head is adventure. How could we have an adventure today? What would be exciting? What would be fun and cool? For other people, it's gentle. Maybe this person has been through some trauma, or even, you know, I've been with some people that went through like sexual trauma or rape or any of that. Holy fuck, I'm going to be unbelievably gentle. With other people, and maybe we can have a conversation about power now. The woman that I'm seeing right now, the word power has come up a few times. They feel like they've never been safe in their own body and they've
Hmm.
never had the power or the ability to say no. And so for them, all I'm thinking about is like, how can I hand them some of the power? So I'd love to have a conversation about this, man, because this is what I'm doing with this woman right now. We had a moment the other day when we had our clothes on, we were making out, and I said to her, can you start to feel the power that you have? Because she'd said no to me quite a few times at that point. And I was like, can you start to feel that you have power? And not power over me. It's not like controlling or dominating someone, but can you feel how you have your own power and ability to say no? And she had this, she all of a sudden got this look of fucking lust on her face. It was fucking hot. And she was like, yeah, I think I can. And then she was sitting on top of me and I kind of just let her do whatever she wanted. I said, you're allowed to do whatever you want right now. I'm not going to move. I would just sort of lay here. You're allowed to like explore that side of yourself a little bit. And that's one
Hmm.
of my favorite acts with very submissive women is I will almost show them what it is like to be a switch for just half a second or to be like in control, like to have a little bit of that femdom energy. And usually I need to walk them through it and tell them what to do. So it's funny because it's almost like I'm dominating them to dominate me, if you get what I mean. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
put your hand here, try that, try right. Like I tell them what to do and they just follow the instructions. But I really like letting them sit in that space for just half a second where they're allowed to have what they want. And
Hmm.
yeah, I might be the one that's ultimately dominating, but I'm asking them, what do you want? Or try whatever you want to me. And I promise I won't judge. I'll tell you if something doesn't feel good. I like that space. So is that something that you've explored? Like handing them just a little bit of power and saying, how does this feel?
Yeah, I think tying this back kind of bit what you touched on before of like the meaning that you're putting into an interaction.
Yeah.
One of the things I guess like if I put one word label on it, it's like freedom, and it's freedom to be themselves. Because I always try and create a container of openness, non-judgment. I want them to fully express whatever emotion they are feeling at that moment, whatever it is. It's totally okay that you feel that. I want you to just be you, to feel whatever it is you're feeling. And so a lot of times, especially if the girls had trauma in the past, I've had several women end up crying with me in the middle
Yep.
of the
Yep.
experience. And I'm like, that's totally
Yep.
fine. Let it out. And like, I'm just holding space. So holding space just means I'm there and I'm witnessing and I'm not trying to change you. I'm not
Yep.
trying to fix it. Like, I'm literally just here to be with you, to hold you, to help you move through this. And the reason I'm bringing this up in terms of this power question is because when we are giving over a little bit of power back to them and the ability to say no or the ability to do what they want, we're literally being a person that witnesses whoever they want to be in that moment, literally expressed fully to the full extent. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to change you. I don't want you to be anything other than what you are in this moment. And that's usually how I'm trying to like empower them in the bedroom, is like full expression. Just be who you are. I don't want you to change anything. I also I always call it submission with agency. So always reminding them that like, although I technically have power over you in the bedroom, like you still have full agency of yourself. If you want this to stop right now, it's a stop. We're not doing anything more. If you said, hey, I think I want to try this thing, and then 20 seconds later, you're like, actually, I don't want to try this thing, that's fine. Speak up for yourself. Like, speak up for your needs, for your boundaries. And if you don't know those things yet, like we talked about before, we'll start exploring those. But I'm always trying to empower their being, their personhood, be whoever you want to be, and then two, their ability to speak up for that, their ability to communicate those things. Because I can't read minds, so you need to help me get into that world.
Dude, how much pressure is there on like DOMs and I guess also subs, but especially on DOMs, that you have to like read people's minds? Dude, that was like me at the start. I was like, all right, I have to know exactly what she wants. I have to be able to please every woman. It's like, that's insane. I will get that question in my coaching program too sometimes, even outside of BDSM, where there'll be like, there's a guy 2 days ago who went on a date with a woman and they made out. He said to her, can I kiss you? She's like, hell yes. They make out. They made out under the Eiffel Tower. How unbelievably romantic is that? They were sipping, dude, first date under the Eiffel Tower, lights are on, it's sunset, sipping red wine on a picnic rug with each other, and they made out under the Eiffel Tower. And so I said that to him. I said, dude, when you were there and you said to her, can I kiss you? What answer do you think she would have given? No, I don't want to make out under the Eiffel Tower with red. So they made out. They had a great time. And then he said to her, do you want to come back to my place? Like, I can't remember what he said, but basically like, do you want to come back to my place and have sex or something like that? And she said yes. And then she went to the bathroom to pee. And then she came back and she said, I'm really sorry. I've changed my mind. And I think I just want to go home. And then, he had all of the thoughts that humans have of like, fuck, what did I do wrong? What should I have said instead? Why did I fuck this up? How could I have been a better, like, I don't know, man or alpha male or some shit? And I just said to him, you don't know what's in her mind. You don't know the perfect thing that you're supposed to say to seduce her or some shit. And the only way that you're going to know that, because he then started trying to guess. And he's like, is it because I said this or that? Or should I have done this? Or what should I have done? I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to know? What the fuck? You think just because I'm your dating coach that I can read minds, I have telepathy? Fuck no, dude. Like, send her a text right now and say, I had so much fun. Is there anything that, like what do you want? You said you didn't want to have sex. That's beautiful. What would you like for next time? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to meet up and have another date? Do you want to go back to mine and fool around? Do you want to have sex? Do you want to see how we feel? Do you want to talk about it first? Like, what do you want? Because I obviously want to fuck the shit out of you. And I told him, be honest about that. Like, literally say, I want to fuck the shit out of you. You're hot. Like, what the fuck? But like, what would you like? And then talk about it. And I think there's this insane pressure that DOMs put on themselves. But just let's step back and be honest. Bro, fucking men put this pressure on themselves in general, even with just normal sex. They're like, I have to read minds. I have to know how to give every woman an orgasm immediately on the first date, like no matter what. I have to pleasure her, and I have to have good text game, and everything I send her has to be witty and funny and cool and interesting. And I have to know how to fucking give her just as much, but not too much that I'm clingy. It's like, guys, calm the fuck down. You can't read minds. Ask questions.
Yeah. And I think it comes from like a good place because you're trying to be like a leader in the situation. But what the fallacy is like, oh, I'm a leader, so I'm supposed to know everything. Instead of I'm a leader and I'm actually supposed to gain intel so I can make decisions. And the way you gain intel is you ask people, like, what is it you want? What do you need? Like, how does this feel for you? And then you keep updating those decisions as you go. So you want that ability to lead and move things along. But if you don't ask the people that you're serving, like, you're definitely going to do something wrong.
Yeah, man. It's like you're not taking in any feedback. You're not even getting any feedback. And I think the more the more women that I date, the more women that I'm in long relationships with or short relationships, like just the more experience I get as the older I get, the more I realize I don't know. I could just say that. I don't know. I don't know jack
Yeah.
shit. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
The more I'm a coach as well, I'm just so comfortable now saying to my clients, I don't fucking know. Why don't you try this and then try this and we'll see what happens? Or I don't fucking know. Ask her. How am I supposed to know? You got to ask her. Like, she's the person that, like, why are you asking me, buddy? Like, if it was me, I would just copy paste what you wrote to me and send that to her. Like, that's my favorite thing. Copy paste what you wrote to us exactly as you wrote it. Copy paste, send to her. And they will. And then they get an answer back like 15 minutes later, sometimes on the same coaching call. And they'll be like, all right, so she said this and this and this. Cool. How do you feel
There's
now?
your
Whoa,
answer.
now I have my answer. Yeah. Yeah. Or we could
Yeah.
have just sat there and tried to fucking gossip about it, like behind her fucking back for like 2.5 hours. Go like, well, maybe she means this. No, bro. When women says this, she means this. No. They mean this. It's like, guys, what are you doing here? Just ask her.
Yeah. I think so there's always like, I've always done this in the past where same situation, like what could I have done better? Maybe if I did this thing, maybe if I did that thing. And you get to the point where like, okay, well, it just becomes easier to ask like, hey, this thing happened. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? But then there's also another step where you have to be okay and drop any expectation that you're going to get an answer, that you're going to end up knowing. You have to actually get comfortable with that you don't know anything. And a lot of times you're not going to get to find out because some women are not going to tell you. We talked about earlier, like sometimes they have told guys in the past and then, had a bad experience with that. Some women, they have different blocks. They're not ready to share that thing. It may be too vulnerable for them. Some women, it literally has nothing to do with you. And like, they just think it's none of your business. You can't ever expect a response from them. And I think getting comfortable with that is like really the thing. Then when you're speaking up for needs later, like the difference between having a need and being needy is when you ask for something and they say no, if you keep pursuing and like trying to get that thing and pull it out of them, that's needy. You're still expecting that thing, even though they said no. Where if you ask for the thing, they say no, and then you're like, okay, now I need to fulfill it myself, find it from another person, spiritually cope with. I'm not going to get this need fulfilled, whatever it is, but you're not coming with expectations. The sooner that you can drop expectations to everything, the happier you're going to be.
Yeah, and this is just such a good mindset for BDSM in general. If you can see each partner, and dating as well, maybe we can just say dating. If you can see each partner as like, look, I'm going to be grateful for everything they give me. And if at some point they stop giving me anything, then I'll be grateful for all the memories that they gave me. And even then, they're still giving me like 10 years from now, I'm going to look back on my relationship with Emmy, my ex, and I'm going to be like, wow, she's still teaching me shit. Because I'm going to remember conversations that we had and things she said to me. And I'm going to be like, wow, that's still helpful and relevant now. And even if nothing else, if someone ghosts me or says, go fuck yourself, you bald ginger freak, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. Thank you for teaching me stoicism. Thank you for teaching me to be able to take a no. Thank you for teaching me self-love. Because if you reject me or if I feel rejected, and you yell at me and tell me I'm ugly, which like nobody ever does that. But like, even if that happened, great. I feel like shit. How can I make myself feel better? That's an act of self-love. I'm going to go hang out with my friends. So you are, by insulting me, literally making me closer to my friends. What a fucking gift that would be. And again, most people don't insult. Most people are nice. But I have a YouTube channel, so sometimes people do insult me. I will go talk to my friends. They will make me feel good. We will process it. We will heal it. I will have gratitude and love and compassion for the person who wrote that comment. Then my friends will feel compassion and love because they'll do the same thing. They'll be like, yeah, that person's just going through their own stress, and that's why they wrote that comment. We both feel better. And then I'm like, wow, I feel closer to you as a friend. Isn't that person cool that they gave us that? And that might not have been their intention. I don't think they were like, I want Andy to feel love. When they're
fucking
like,
hate
fuck
you, Andy. I hope you get some love out of this.
Hope that he'll feel the love that I'm trying to get across the screen here with my angry words. But like, you get the point, man. And if you can sit in that place of just like, okay, wait 1 second. this that I love to fucking show off all the time. If you can sit in this, you know,
It's
I
so
have
good.
no expectations, only curiosity. If you can sit in this, oh my fucking God, or even just have that a little bit. Like if you can, like expectations and I guess neediness is something you can let go of a little bit at a time. You don't have to just wake up one day and be like, namaste, I have found Buddha and I am just like enlightened and I don't need anything. Like, no, like I'm still working on my neediness. There are literally times, I'll be very honest, a couple of days ago, there's a girl that I'm seeing that I don't want to say too many details because, you know, privacy and all of that, but like basically there was a misunderstanding after sex. She took it very personally. I tried to help and tried to be there and all of that. And ultimately, at the end of that, I had to just let her, or I chose to let her walk away. But there was
Mhm.
still a part of me, a big part of me. We talked about it for 10 minutes. I could probably say she yelled at me for 10 minutes while I tried my absolute best to help her. There was a part of me that's like needy for helping her. And I've talked about this on my channel. I did a video called I'm Needy with all of you guys, my audience. There's a part of me that's like, I need to help them. I need to be there for them. If they're struggling, I need to make them feel better. And like you said, it is just so much nicer to let people sit in their emotions and not judge those emotions as bad. And if somebody is upset, saying it's okay to be upset rather than saying, I have to make her happy. I have to fix this.
Mhm.
And this is still a thing that I'm still improving at. Like maybe I will be for the rest of my life because there is a little part of me that sees someone cry and goes, oh, I want to make them feel better. And it's like, yeah, great, brilliant, that's beautiful. But at the same time, sometimes people just have some shit to process. They want to cry for a little bit. And you just being there with them, I think particularly in a BDSM context where they're very vulnerable and like maybe even naked in front of you, if emotions come up, if you just sit there and basically shut the fuck up and say nothing, like sometimes it's like say nothing. Just like hold
Mhm.
their hand if they want you to. Just like just this, and say nothing. And then they process, and afterwards they're like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
And you're
Thank
like,
you
"I
for
didn't
being
do
so
anything."
kind and like thank you for
Yeah,
being it's so
and
kind
you're
to
like,
me.
"I
I was
did
like,
nothing.
yeah.
I did
Like I
nothing.
was
I
literally
just
here.
literally
I
did
just
nothing."
held you like
Yeah, but I think that's what people are seeking sometimes, man. Particularly in
yeah.
BDSM. Like, how many women have come to you and they're just like, maybe they don't even know that they want this, but afterwards they compliment, they say thank you for it. They just want to feel fucking safe. Like
Yeah.
safe. And I think a lot of people don't understand that because they're like, but BDSM isn't safe. And it's like, no, it can be one of the safest places that you ever sit in your entire life ever. So has that been your experience?
Absolutely. I think like safety is one of the biggest things. And um, every time that I talk with women about BDSM and they've had negative experiences in the past, it's like I did not feel safe with that guy for a variety of reasons. And a lot of it's they're trying to get their needs met in some manipulative fashion. And when I say manipulation, I don't mean it in the terms of like that person's evil and they're trying to get their needs met and like fuck the other person. It's literally like if you're doing anything short of asking for it, then you're conniving. You're like going around it and not being clear with what you want. Um, and in that way, you're manipulating. So the guy's trying to manipulate to get his needs met, or he didn't know what he was doing, which that's totally fine. We all sucked in the beginning. You just got to be
Yeah.
honest about
Yeah.
that. Like, don't try and do something that you don't have the skills for yet. And if you want to like start gaining the skills, like tell her, hey, I really suck
Yeah.
at
I
doing
don't know
this
what
thing,
I'm
but
doing. Yeah.
yeah, but I'd like to explore. Like, let's go slow, and we can stop if it's getting too intense or something. But I'd like to explore this. Um, or they don't feel uh, like emotionally safe. So that container that I'm talking about, like non-judgment of openness. Sometimes they'll be like stepping into some of their desires, and then they'll get judged by the guy because they did that. I was like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Like I thought you wanted me to be this submissive woman. I thought you wanted me to be this sexual person, and now I'm stepping a little bit into those, and you're judging those. So I don't feel safe now to show you my other sides.
Mm.
Um, and so when we do BDSM and we kind of set up the container that way, you know what you're doing, or you're being honest about your skill level and you're speaking up for your needs, what you actually want to do with that person, like then it becomes very, very safe. The person can be themselves. They know what's going to happen. and they know that they can say no or stop, or we can do something else. And that's what makes it like such an incredibly safe container to explore in.
I want to flip it a little bit and talk about the other gender. Men feel judged, lots of men feel judged in the bedroom too. Like
Mhm.
it's not just women, dude. And like, especially as a Dom, I've had a few people that have wanted to take the lead a little bit more. We'll phrase it like that and start getting into like being a soft Dom. Like,
Mhm.
I'll just be a little bit more passionate, or I'll go first, or I'll do this, or I'll spank her a little bit. And they will say to me, like, I've tried that stuff in the past and women have judged me for it. Either that I didn't do a good job, and I've
Mhm.
had that. In the first couple of years of me trying this stuff, I was very honest and I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I bought some ropes. Do you want to come over? We can watch a YouTube video together and figure it out and watch a tutorial. I had one woman no, more than that. I've had a couple. I can think of two immediately who basically it felt like were borderline berating me. And
Mhm.
I don't know if I'd say it was in like a bratty sort of way of like a playful thing. It felt, at least to me, maybe I was sensitive at the time. It could be that. But it felt almost like I didn't feel safe exploring and trying things. I
Yeah.
felt pressure. And I have had so many guys, so many of you watching who will say, I suffer from performance anxiety. My dick can't get hard because I feel like I have to do a good job. And even outside of BDSM, especially guys that are inexperienced, they're like, holy shit, I feel all this pressure. And sometimes women will literally, I don't think they mean to, but they will literally put the pressure on. I've had a few clients who say, like, my dick didn't get hard. And I tried to be honest about it with her. And she was like, oh, she was frustrated. She was like, oh, I really wanted to have sex. Like, why is this happening? And what do you think that makes his dick fucking rock hard when you, like, is that just going to really get him? Oh, yeah, I can't wait to bang you now that you're disappointed in me and you think I'm a
Yeah.
freak. So guys get that shit too, man. I don't think it's just women. I think women, like, we meet lots of women like that, obviously, but like, I think it's just
Well,
like a judgment thing. Yeah.
it is. And they're coming with expectations too, right? They have made some fantasy version of you in their head. Like, especially if you're saying that you're dominant or whatever, like, oh, he's the
Yeah.
big bad Dom, big bad alpha Dom. And I'm going to expect like this crazy sex when I get there. And sometimes that happens. And sometimes, yeah, your dick doesn't fucking work that night and you can't show up as the best that you want to be.
Mm.
Some of the women that I've been so grateful for in the bedroom, they basically held space for me, like I would
Yeah.
hold space for them. And yeah, maybe I'm like having a stressful night that night and out of my head and having performance anxiety, and it's happening. And now I feel emasculated, and uh, they're like, I can see the disappointed look on their face. And I've had some of them that have been like, oh, this really sucks, and we don't want to have an interaction anymore. She doesn't want to see me again. That happens. But I've also had other amazing women that have like, okay, like let's slow down, let's cuddle. I had one that always sticks in my mind is like I was having performance anxiety and I kept trying to get it up, and we were having a great time, and I just kind of like got frustrated, laid down, and I kind of wanted to like close in, didn't really want to talk about
Mm.
it. And she just like laid with me and was like, hey, what's going on? I was like, I'm in my head, and it's not you. Like, I'm just thinking about this and it makes it worse. And every time like you think about it, it's like you're not going to be getting hard. And she's like, that's okay. She's like, just lay back and I'm going to please you. And so she just massaged me. She ran her hands really slow all over me. And then she got kind of a little more heated and grabby, and then ended up like going down and just giving me a blowjob for the night. And then we just cuddled, and it was a fantastic experience for both of us. Like, she was there to see and care for me, even though that I wasn't showing up, the way that I wanted to be in that moment.
Absolute fucking angel, man. I had that like 5 weeks ago as well. Um, yeah, I was still feeling a lot of emotions from the breakup with my ex, Emmy. Obviously, no shit.
Right.
And a girl was coming over to see me, and dude, like it's like she lived half an hour away. As she's driving over, in my head, I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I kind of just want to cuddle. I don't even know if I want to cuddle. I kind of wish she wasn't coming over, but she's already driving over now. I'm not going to be like, don't come.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sent her a text, and I basically was like, I'm sad as hell right now. I'm going to be honest. I'm really fucking sad. Like, she knew that I'd broken up with my ex, Emmy. I was like, I'm sad as hell. Like, would you think less of me if I just want to fucking cuddle? And then when she got here, she saw the message and she's like, no, like, you can lay on me and I'll stroke your head. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm this fucking close to just bursting into tears. Like if I lay on her head, on her chest, I will fucking start crying. And
Mm-hmm.
she came over. I was just fucking sad as hell, man. And we went into the bedroom, and I laid on her chest, and I was just like, so here's how I'm feeling. Here's what's up. And we just fucking talked, man. We talked for like 2 hours. She shared her shit. I shared my shit. It wasn't sexual. We just like talked about it. And I was like, at the end of that, I was like, this was nice. Like, thank you for being this kind. Like, I'm used to this from my friends, and I'm used to this from women that I date. Like, Emmy was obviously very loving and kind, but like someone that I don't really know super well, thank you for this. This was just nice. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a crazy notion, but your dom is a person too. Like,
Exactly. And like you as the Dom also have the ability to say, no, this is going too fast. This is reaching up against one of my boundaries, or this is a need I have. Early on when wasn't able to even identify my needs very well. And I think a lot of guys do this, use sex as a way to fulfill the need for closeness, for intimacy, for even just touch when yes, sex can be one of those things, but you can experience.
It's like we
You can
just want to
experience-
fucking cuddle sometimes, right?
Yep. I definitely have had sex in the past where like actually what all I wanted was the cuddles afterwards, and that was like the best part of the entire experience.
I've done that too. No, dude, I've literally used sex for cuddles. As hilarious as that sounds, where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pound the shit out of her. I'm gonna go fucking crazy, so I come really quickly. I'm gonna quickly jam the vibrator down there. Oh yeah, I'm coming. Great. Okay, now we get to cuddle. And then we just cuddle for like an hour, and I'm like, this is what I really wanted. Now I'm just honest about that. I'm like, can we just cuddle? But like, I thought that was like, I don't know, gay or like wrong to just like want to cuddle. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the big hurdle for guys for doing that is like, oh, she's not going to respect me. She's not going to see me as a man, whatever it may be. And that to some extent, that is true. There will be women that will say, oh, you're, a pussy for wanting that and like not, fucking the shit out of me or whatever. And then my question is like, if the guy's like, okay, well, this actually did happen. Fine. Perfect. Do you want to be seeing that woman anyways if she's treating you like that? Or would you rather have seen the woman that, just like that woman did with you? Like, no, that's totally fine. And you guys, cuddled and spent time together for 2 hours and, shared that intimate moment. Which woman do you actually want to spend time with? So the woman that left because she thought you were a pussy, that's actually a good thing, right? Like you don't want to be spending time with a woman that puts you down.
Dude, could you imagine like they end up like being together forever, they get married, and then one day in his 60s he gets cancer and he's there on like the fucking bed. He's got like all these fucking treatments and shit, and he's just like hair's falling out and he's just in agony, and he just like reaches out his hand and he's like, honey, would you hold my hand? And she's like, fuck, you're a pussy. What the fuck is wrong with you, you fucking pussy? Like, what are you, a fucking bitch? Like, what do you mean? Come on, be an alpha male. Come on. And it's like... Like, if she's already calling you a pussy at the start, like, what do you think is going to happen later on in the relationship? Like, good luck keeping that mask on forever. You ever lose your job?
Exactly.
Bitch, you better be out there getting another job the next day. You don't have any time to feel sad. You ever go through depression? You got to fucking man up and just fucking stick that straight down as low as you can and never let that come back out. Yeah, like, fuck that. I'd rather be judged immediately. That's why I said I'm grateful if someone will be like, judgmental like that, or it's not even, maybe we can not call it that. She just has different expectations of what she wants, and she wants you to be this idea, and rather than being a chameleon who just changes yourself, which to me is maybe not fully who I want to be anyway, but rather than changing yourself and saying I have to be whoever they want me to be, understand that not only is that going to change per person, like one woman will want you to be like this, then the next woman will want you to be the opposite, and you're flip-flopping back and forwards going, fuck, who even am I? I'm just whoever the hell they're willing to accept. But that is even going to change in the same woman. Like, if she's having a bad day, she's going to be a lot less accepting of whoever you are, isn't she? And then if she's having a good day, she wants something different. If she's horny one day, now you have to fuck the shit out of her. If she's in a cuddle mood, now you have to be Mr. Cuddle. And so if you spend your life trying to please people, particularly people that are difficult to please, you're just chasing a ghost. You're chasing something that's literally not possible. I'd rather just express myself authentically and be like, here's who I am. Do you like that? If you like that, that's cool. If you don't like that, that's cool. I'll go and find the person that does, and you'll find the person that likes you. So...
And that's the same mentality with needs. Like you ask for a need and they say no. Okay, great. I will go find somebody that would like to fulfill that need. And it's going to feel 100 times better. I think you were talking about, sex earlier, like the sex is better when they're saying those things. It's the same thing with dating. Like when you are authentically, and when I say this, I also mean like you're presenting yourself in the best light, but it's also the most authentic way. Like you can present your most authentic self in a really crappy way, and it's not an attractive package. But you can
you'd
also
be
present
like, I laid on the couch for 5 hours today, and I don't give a fuck about anything. Like,
yeah. But when you're working to present yourself an attractive package, you want to present yourself like as authentically as possible, because then the women that come in, like they are filtered to be somebody that exactly loves that. Like the more, I always call it like planting a flag, like the more flags that you can plant, like here's my craziness, here's my weird, here's my like freak flag. The more of those that you can plant, and the people are like, oh, I love that flag. I'm going to go to that country. Like I'm going to go to that person. They fucking love that stuff. So when you have the date, it's awesome. These people you connect with really well. The dates go better, the sex is better, the relationship's better later on. But if you're like always trying to change yourself to match, what that woman wants and what that woman wants and what that woman wants, those relationships often suck, because it's not actually who you are. You always have to like change yourself to be that person.
Yeah. And when you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything. Like you don't have to remember what you said. And do you know what's fucking great, dude? Is like this YouTube channel has served me in dating way more than I ever thought it would. Because before I meet someone, I would just show them the YouTube channel. Like particularly if we're talking about like a BDSM topic, like if we're discussing first what we want to do, which I always do. I like to talk about it first. Like, what do you want? What experience do you want? My favorite question is like, if you could have your perfect BDSM experience where you get literally everything you want, what would that look like for you? And then they tell me, and I'm like, well, yeah, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to do that then. Like, thank you. Like,
yeah, you just gave me the key to the kingdom. Thank you.
Dude, yeah, no, it's like the best rather than me trying to figure out how I have to please her, I'd rather just say, tell me literally the most perfect ideal fantasy that you've ever had. If everything went according to plan, what would that look like? And then they'll write me like 5 paragraphs, and I'm like, fuck yeah, that's hot. That's great. But I will, whatever they say in there, I'll be like, oh, I've done a video on that. Go watch this video. And then this other thing you said, here's a video. And you struggled with consent and boundaries. So here's my consent video. You said here that like, blah, blah, blah. Here's that video. You said you struggle to know if a relationship is good for you. Well, I did a video on how to know if a BDSM relationship is good for you. Watch this. And I'll give them all of that. And then they'll come back and be like, first of all, I liked listening to you talk. I feel like I got to know you better. So now I'm even more into you. Second of all, holy shit, this addressed my needs. So like, I like having conversations, but I just saved myself like 10 hours of conversation by I already addressed that. Here you go. And then third of all, if anything, it's a nice little screening tool, because I've had a couple of women from time to time say, I got a bit triggered when you said this. I don't really like the way you talk about that. And I think I'm a bit put off. And I'm like, good. You're going to find my YouTube channel at some point. I'd rather you find it now. I've had a few like potential friends and stuff do that too, where they'll find the podcast and they'll go, I don't like blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, good. Like, I don't want to be friends then. Like, I want my friends to accept all the parts of me, and I want to accept all the parts of them. And I'm trying not to say this in a judgmental way, but like, I don't like judgmental people. And I'm trying not to judge.
I don't even think it's judgmental. People, they hold different values. Like when they said, I don't like this thing that you're doing in here. Fantastic. Thank you. I'm glad that you know your values and I know mine, and we're value differences. So let's not hang out.
That's exactly how I phrase it. Yeah. I'm like, I love that you know what you want, and I love that you know what you don't want. Yeah. Like, exactly. Yeah. That's why I struggle to like figure out how to phrase it. Like, is it judgmentalism that I'm avoiding? No, it's not quite that. It's just that like you said, different values. They want something else. They don't want me. Good. But if I'm sitting there trying to like hide those parts of me or explain myself, like that's one thing I never do when they say that. If I ever have, which happens from time to time, if someone's like, I don't like that you said this, I'm like, beautiful. I don't sit there and say, well, here's what I really meant. No. I think you're taking it out of context. Here's what I meant. I'm just like, good. I don't want to explain myself. Like, I want you to know that you don't want something, and then you just walk away or go explore it with someone else that you feel a bit safer with or that you feel better with. Like, it's not my job to like change your mind. But at the start, yeah, I took it as my fucking job, man. And anytime someone would not like something or I felt they'd misunderstood me, I was like, no, I just got to explain myself. I got to convince them. And it's like, why? So I can have a bunch of sex with people that I had to convince to be there. And like, how does that feel
Yeah.
for them? They're always going to have that doubt in their mind of like, did he gaslight me and talk me into this? You use the word manipulation. And I agree with you. I don't think it's like some intentional thing. But I used to be like that. I'd be like, no, I have to change her mind. It's like anytime you're trying to change someone's mind, that is the definition of manipulation. You could
Hmm.
invite them to have a conversation with you if they want to change their mind, but they'll already be asking you that. They'll say, I've had people like that, like a lot. I mean, I don't think she'd mind me saying this, but like Taylor, my friend and coach, his girlfriend, she had a lot of judgments about me and my website and all of that because I did used to have a very aggressive voice like 4 or 5 years ago. My content has changed a lot. And she
Hmm.
came on a Zoom call with me, which is incredibly open minded of her. And she just asked me questions. She's like, hey, how do
That's
you feel
amazing.
about women? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And I just spoke honestly from the heart. And some of it was messy, all of it was truthful. And then by the end, she's like, holy shit, thank you. Like, I have a completely different view of you now. And so if someone wants to, they will ask you questions. But if someone just isn't feeling the vibe, it's not your job and it's not kind to yourself and it's definitely not kind to them to try and change their damn mind and be like, I have to convince this person to like me. It's like, just you're allowed to go separate ways and then find the partner that is fitting for you or that you're
And
a fit for them too.
you won't ever change their mind unless they're open to it. Like she was open to getting on a Zoom call with you. It's like she was open to having her mind changed. And because she took the initiative to do that, because she was the one that asked the questions, was wanting that, her mind was actually able to be changed. But if you're trying to change somebody's mind that doesn't want that, like they say, hey, this is my value and I don't want to change that value, like I'm not changing that. Um, you may in the very short term like be able to twist the situation in a way that you get what you want, but you won't get it long term. And I think this is like this was really important for me when I was coming out of my marriage and then like going into these sorts of relationships, like getting very clear on what my values were. I mean, one of them was the value of non-monogamy. That was a point of contention in my marriage. We were monogamous, and
Me too. Yeah.
giving
The
both of us
opposite.
grace that we were young. Like when we got together, we didn't know what our values were yet, and we didn't like. It took going through that marriage to really discover what those values were. But I was like, okay, now that I'm out of the marriage, like every relationship that I have going forward, this is going to be a very strong value that I tell them up front. And like, if you are not in line with that, I love that. That's fine. But this is a value for me that I'm not changing. And so I need to part ways at this moment.
Yeah, I went through the exact same thing. Amy and we met when she was young. She was open to non-monogamy. We slept with girls together, and then eventually, at some point, she was like, "Holy shit, I want monogamy." So, brother, you're preaching to the choir. You're speaking my language. Yes, it is like the first thing that I tell people. By the way, here's what I'm all about. Like even for me, the BDSM thing, I don't mind if someone says I'm not into
Yep.
BDSM. I'm like, cool, like we'll just have normal sex. But for me, the like non-monogamy thing, that's like the hardest fucking thing because like that's what I'm doing anyway. So I'm like, by the way, I'm seeing other people right now. Are you okay with that? Or if I'm not seeing other people right now, which like that happens sometimes, you're just seeing one person. It's like, but within the next couple of weeks or months, I will be. Like, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go out there and talk to other people, or I'm going to go on Hinge at some point. Like, I'm not going to be monogamous. Like, it's just not what I want. And so being upfront about that shit, yeah, unbelievably helpful. I think, can we like, can we talk about this topic, but particularly with sex acts, like the topic of like talking someone into something? Because sometimes in the moment, you'll be really into a sex act. Like, I don't know, maybe you want to have a threesome with your partner, or maybe you want to play out a particular kink with your partner, or maybe you just, a lot of guys talk about this, like you just really want anal sex. You just want to be able to have anal sex with her, but she's had some trauma in the past from it because a lot of guys just fucking shove it straight in and she goes, ow, ah. And he's like, oh, fuck, did I hurt you? I'm sorry. Like, but you have a sex act, whatever that might be, anal, threesomes, whatever. And your partner is like either into it but really cautious and doesn't want to do it anytime soon and wants to baby step it, or they're just like, I don't know if I'd ever want to do that. I have in the past, like I'll be very honest, in the past I've gone, okay, how can I convince her that this will be hot? And in my brain at the time, I would not have used the word manipulation. I would have said like,
Hmm.
no, I'm not manipulating. Like if she doesn't want to do it, that's okay. But I'm just going to convince her that it's hot. And it's like, so the brain will play tricks on us and will try and like get us to manipulate. And people do this all the time. Women do the same thing. I'm going to leave his
Oh yeah.
text on read for a couple of hours, and then that will make him chase me. And it's like, that's manipulation. No, no, I'm just making him want me. It's like making. You're making someone. You're not asking what he wants. You're not asking what they want. You're not presenting what you want. You're not saying, by the way, I would like you to chase me. Do you consent to this? I'm going to leave your text on read. And so I think that honesty, like, and that's what I would do now. Like, I now sometimes have some sexual kinks and stuff that a partner won't want. And then I'll just be honest about that. And I'll be like, I really want you to want this, but I don't want you to want it if you don't want it. And as confusing as all of that sentence just was, like, is this something you think you would ever be open to? And if it's not, tell me. Like, if this is just such a hard boundary that you're like, no, I don't think I ever want to do that. It's gross. Great. I will go and do it with someone else. Or is it something that you could see yourself one day being open to? And you're just like, you want to take your time. Like, how do you actually feel about it? And then we'll talk about it. And I find that honest space helps with this a lot. But even with sex acts, yeah, we can be a bit manipulative sometimes without meaning to. Like, it's not a reflection on us.
Yeah. Before, well, I think this is also like a strong argument for non-monogamy, because like when I was monogamous, I was much more like trying to convince, because I was like,
Yeah.
this is the
Yep.
only place that I can get this, and like if I really want this, this is it. So I have to convince her to want to do this thing, and that felt really fucking icky. Like that felt gross to try and do, because I'm like, I
Yeah.
have this desire, and that's the only place I can get it. And if she says no, I was like, okay, well, that's okay. But now what do I do with this desire? So at that time, like I learned a lot about being able to cope and, spiritually, do I really need this thing? Working through that.
Buddhism and like letting
Yeah.
go. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
But
Yeah.
when I became non-monogamous and somebody says, no, I don't want to do that thing, I'm like, great, that's fine. I can, find somebody that does want to do that thing. However, I am always looking for that curiosity part. So when you're, asking them, is this something that definitely a hard line, never want to do ever, so closed off to it? Or is this something that maybe you might be into? Maybe there's a little inkling to it. Like one of the girls that I'm seeing now, she has a little bit of curiosity towards threesomes, and she's always thought about the idea, but she has a very soft limit to it. She's like, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I want to build trust with you and trust with our relationship and things like that. And I was like, that's totally fine. And so with that particular thing, like I haven't pushed more. I'm waiting for that curiosity thing. I'm like, I might be a little more open to this, or I want to learn about it. Just like you, I have a bunch of content and stuff. So sometimes I'll be like, hey, go read this thing or go watch this, and learn about this kink or whatever. And then we can, start exploring it. Or I'll go find other educative type things so that she can just get an introduction to it and then follow her curiosity. A lot of times, like you'll introduce them to it and they're like, oh, actually, I'm more curious about it. And they'll go research it. And then they might come with questions. And that's how you start going down the rabbit hole. Because then you can, like, if it's anal or something like that, and they get more interested in it, it's like, okay, well, we're not going to go like straight to anal right off the bat. Like, let's just start with a finger, and I'm just going to, press on your butthole.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Like, how does that feel? And then kind of working your way up, following that curiosity, integrating it. How does it feel? And, going up from there.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of homework as well. And not like homework like you must complete this. I say homework with a big smile on my face. So I've had some women that want to do like anal sex, but either they've done it or it's been a while since they've done it. And I'll say like, okay, here's one of my butt plugs. Like, do you want to borrow this? And here's some lube. Do you want to play with this?
Yeah, if you can get them to like do it with themselves, like by themselves, because then they have no pressure on them. They can explore fully and find out what it feels like to them, find boundaries on their own before they do it with a partner. And then they're like, oh, at least I have a little experience. I know what this is. It's not completely foreign to me.
Yeah, and he's not pressuring me. I do the same with like I guess in terms of like spanking and stuff like that, if there's someone who's like really scared of spanking, I will have all my tools out, like a paddle, like I have some of them here, like a crop, the little choo, choo, choo. And I will hand this to them and just say, here you go, like hold it. And then they'll look at it and they'll be like, what's this? And they'll like poke the little tip, the leather bit, and then they'll feel the handle. They'll be like, oh, that feels nice. And they'll just play around. I'll go, look how bendy it is. Isn't that cool? That's where all the whip comes from, because it's bendy. And they'll go, cool. And then I'll say, do you want to try it on me? And they'll go, okay, where do I do it? And I'm like, well, where do you want? And they'll, on my leg or whatever, my butt. And they'll just play around with it a little bit and like giving them that space to explore it without me just going, all right, ready, whack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times,
into it.
Like, especially if they're new, all of this is foreign to them. They have no concept of it. And I think that's like the thing with threesomes. Girls have no concept of like how to interact with another girl in sex.
How do I pleasure her? Yeah. Like the number one resistance I've ever had for threesomes is like, I literally don't know what to do with a woman.
Yeah. And so it's like, if you can start, I mean, that one's a little difficult because you do have to like get them in a bedroom with another girl to like start having them explore. You can still
talk them through it. Like, yeah, Correct. Hey, you guys make out. Hey, put your hand here. Yeah.
But an act that doesn't require another person, like the spanking act or the anal that we were just talking about earlier, there's ways that you can get them familiar with the concept. So it's not so scary, because a lot of times the block or boundary or limit is because it's scary to them. They have no idea. They have this expectation in their mind of what it's going to be, this picture of what it's going to be. And especially if they've heard like from their friends, let's take anal, for example, lots of women have terrible anal experiences.
Yeah.
They're like,
yeah, I know.
I don't
right?
want to have
I know.
that. I don't want to have that. So this is a boundary for me, where if you can explain, well, actually, if we do it the right way and lead you up to it and get you warmed up to this, can be very pleasurable experience.
Dude, the number of women that have said to me like, oh, I don't want to do anal. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, how come? And they're like, because it hurts. I heard that it hurts. And it's like, why the fuck does it have to hurt? The other thing that I've had with women that are completely inexperienced, like virgin, and they're terrified of sex. And I go, yeah, well, because you're inexperienced. And, we'll take a few sessions to get warmed up and closer and all of that. And then they'll tell me like, I'm just so scared this is going to hurt. And I'm like, why would I want it to hurt? Like, why does it have to hurt? Like, it might be tight, it might be a little uncomfortable. We might need to go ridiculously slow, but so agonizingly slow that I put this much of my dick in, just the little tip, and then I just don't move for the next half an hour, and we just cuddle and kiss. And then I'll put in the littlest bit more, and then we'll feel that. And maybe that's all we can do the first time. Like, we don't even basically have sex the first time. And we try fingers, and you get warmed up, and borrow this dildo, and just go home and practice on yourself for the next week. And then it can be this beautiful, great experience. But I think a lot of this stuff, there's almost like an expectation that this is going to suck, or it's going to hurt, or it won't be fun, or I'm just putting up with this for him. I think especially with kinks, a lot of people and a lot of the women that I've been with have said, I put up with this guy doing this kink because I wanted to please him. And it's like, woman, what about you? And they're like, oh, I guess I didn't think about that, especially as a submissive, like women who are used to being submissive. They're like, but isn't my job to just shut the fuck up and be a good little bitch?
Go along with
what I'm told? Right. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, I mean, maybe that feels good for my, it feels good for my dick, maybe, but that doesn't feel good for my heart. And then afterwards, I'm like, I got my dick wet, but like, did she have fun? I could have just done that, but in a way where she also has fun. Like, it's not like I have to take my needs from her. What if I just offer her something, she offers me something, and we both receive that and go, thank you. Like you said this last time, the last podcast we did, it's not about giving and taking. It's often about like offering and receiving. It's more, I see it more as like submission is a receiving, and I'm receiving from her and she's receiving from me, rather than I have to take with force. And obviously sometimes there is force and all of that, but I think
there's space for that, but you set up the dynamic for that. Like we were talking about last time, like doing primal play or very rough sex. And that is definitely a time that, yes, in that space, you are taking, for your pleasure in that space. But she is also enjoying that because she has basically said, yes, I want to allow this to happen. I want to give this gift to you of my body, of access to this for you to do as you please. Where what you were just mentioning of the girl like going along with it, she actually doesn't want whatever is happening to be happening. And that's a time for her where she's in that gray space of like, do I say no to this? Do I ask and have it like, can we move to this position? Can we do something else? When you're not speaking up for your needs there, you're not actually giving that other person a gift, because like you're not enthusiastically consenting. Like, oh, I want to allow this to happen to me, and he's able to do that. And you're just going along with it. It doesn't make for a pleasurable experience for either side.
Yeah, gray area sex is not great sex, at least not to me.
That's a bumper sticker right there. Gray area sex is not great sex.
Dude, thank you. I rehearsed that in my head like 10 times while you were talking. I was like, how do I say? Gray area sex is not great sex. Maybe we'll call the podcast this. I guess on that note, maybe we'll start wrapping up. I would love you, my brother, to shout out your amazing book that you wrote with your friend that talks about all of this.
Yeah, Mario Tabone and I wrote a book called Enter the Dom, the No BS book on dominance. And a lot of things that we talked about here, specifically around consent, around holding space, around creating a container of openness, non-judgment, like those are all mindset skills that we go through in the book and outline so that you can make an enjoyable space for both you and your submissive. And then there's also a ton of practical skills in there about, how to structure a scene, different sexual skills, how to dirty talk, things like that. So both mindset, very hands-on, all of it in one book. And you can find that at enterthedom.com.
Amazing. I will leave a link in the description down below to that. My favorite chapter in there is the chapter that you guys wrote about love and like bringing a loving presence to the bedroom, how to give something, leaving people better than you found them. That was like legitimately like speaking my language there. So I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you putting good vibes out there. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. It's always
I appreciate you, man.
Coming to you.
I appreciate you, man.
Always a blast to chat with you and talk about these things. I love it.
You too, man.